Hello everyone and welcome to a really wild game you guys requested as soon as it finished. It is Magnus Carlsen versus Shakhriyar Mamedyarov from the Blitz section of the SuperUnited tournament currently being played in Zagreb in Croatia. And Jordan Fanforest won the Rapid section. Now we have 2 more days of Blitz and then the joint points accumulated will result in a winner of the tournament. So let's check it out. It's a really wild game, and to make things worse, they repeated the game they already played in Norway chess, but it still doesn't help one of the players survive for very long. So it's basically a miniature. You guys will love it. Let's check it out. Magnus has the white pieces and he opens with knight to f3. He goes for the reti opening, d5 by Mamedyarov, g3, g6, bishop to g2 and bishop to g7, the so-called double fianchetto variation of the King's Indian attack, d4 and knight to f6. So both players just nicely developing, castles, c4 and c6, transposing into the Neo-Gruenfeld line, the classical one, knight to c3, and now d captures on c4, accepting this pawn, which of course means that Magnus will now grab the full center. So pawn to e4, and now in the game that I've mentioned from Norway chess that Magnus won, Mamedyarov played bishop to g4, but here Mamedyarov improves by playing the top move recommended by the engine, and that is pawn to b5. If anyone is interested, bishop to g4 is the second move recommended by the engine, so probably why Mamedyarov decided to surprise Magnus a little bit in Norway chess, but here he goes for the main line of this line. Queen to e2 by Magnus, and now bishop to a6. We have pawn to a3, and now we have bishop to b7, just putting the bishop back. Now it's a very interesting move because bishop to b7 is a new move. Bishop to c8 is a known one, queen to c8 is a known move, and also there is an e6 move from a very nice game played in 2020 between Paravian and Boris Gelfand that Gelfand won very nicely. But here after bishop to b7 we have a completely new game, so let's see how Magnus tackles this new position. He just advances the pawn in the center, grabs more space, knight to d5, and now he just pushes e6, and here is where things start to go very, very wrong for Mamedyarov. The only move that sort of keeps equality is pawn to f5. Also, maybe pawn to f6, pawn to f5 is better. But here Mamedyarov played bishop to c8, and now the position is, well, it's just lost. So here Magnus plays knight to g5, now putting more pressure on this f7 pawn, and you can't really capture this. If you capture this, just knight captures on e6, and now if bishop captures, of course, now you get queen captures on e6, and your entire position just falls apart. King has to move, knight captures on d5, pawn captures, bishop captures, and well, you resign here. There's no saving this rook. So after knight to g5, Mamedyarov tries f6 now. Seems that it should work. Knight to f7 by Magnus, attacking the queen, and now you could go for queen to b6, but Mamedyarov first goes for a knight trade. Now if a knight captures queen, then knight captures queen with check. Sorry about the weird arrows, and now of course b captures on c3, and now queen to e8, getting the queen out of harm's way. Now preparing bishop captures on e6, and then after the queen captures, we can capture the knight on f7. But Magnus says, not a problem, I'm not really interested in that. Magnus immediately plays a4. He of course knows everything about this position, and the bind on this diagonal is just too great to recover from. Bishop captures on e6 is played, but now just knight to h6 with check. Bishop captures on h6, queen captures on h6 with check, on e6 with check, king g7, and now bishop captures on h6, getting Mamedyarov's king all the way to h6. And you don't have to worry about trying to checkmate the black king. There's really no good way to do it, but just a captures on b5, and there's no move for Mamedyarov. You can't capture it, it would be a clean rook. So here we have pawn to a5, but it doesn't matter. Just b captures on c6. Magnus now gets a beautiful pass pawn on c6, rook to a7, and now even pawn to d5. Beautiful stuff, preparing queen e3 check to pick up the rook on a7. So here king back to g7, and now queen e3, going after the rook, rook to c7, and now Magnus just plays rook captures on a5. There is no saving this. Mamedyarov could have very well resigned here, but of course, he wants to survive as long as possible. Queen to d8. We have queen to f4, and now rook captures on c6. You don't have a move here, so Mamedyarov has to try something. Rook captures on c6 is played. Now he's threatening also to pick up Magnus's rook on a5, but just d captures on c6. We have queen captures on a5, and now rook to b1, putting pressure on the knight here with both queen and the rook. So knight to a6, and now rook to b7. Preparing rook captures on e7, queen to c5 defending, and now queen to e4. Preparing queen to e6 and bishop to d5, and then it's just over. So here rook f7, defending the pawn here, but just queen e6, like we mentioned, bishop to d5 is coming, and even though Mamedyarov stops this checkmating attack, it doesn't really matter. Magnus just plays bishop d5, Mamedyarov trades queens, but it still just resigns here. You either give up the rook, and then you are lost, the pass pawn is way too strong, or you play what Mamedyarov tried, rook to f8, rook captures on e7, king to h6, and now pawn to c7. And it was in this position on move 34 that Shakhriyar Mamedyarov resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So it is hard to describe this game any other way other than effortless. I mean, hope you guys agree with this, but I mean, to make matters worse, like I said, he played the exact same line they already played in Norway chess, and now Mamedyarov went for the main line, as you know, okay, it's more solid, you know, you're not gonna just lose the game out of nowhere. But Magnus plays this e6 move that I'm probably gonna use for my thumbnail, and there just was no way of saving this. It's a blitz game, so of course if you have more time you will find f5, but after bishop c8 it resigns. So really spectacular showing by Magnus, taking down Mamedyarov in a miniature like this. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Wright Travis, Michael Kalberer, Kevin Klein, Ravishing Reptile YouTube, and Omicron for contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this wonderful event until it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And if you have a game that you think should be shown to everyone, do suggest, as there are so many games being played. Thank you, and see you soon.